What is going on, everybody? Today is a big day for Nick's Hands Presents because we are out here on the Hooksett River Walk Trail. I'm out here with my boy, Chris Watt.
That's me.
Cancer survivor, space photographer, cyclist, handsome fella.
Oh.
All around looking for a good, nice little walk through the woods. There's a pack of teenagers coming up, so we might not make it.
This won't be cringy at all.
Oh wait, maybe they're not teenagers.
We're cooked. Is that what they say?
I don't know. I'm not a young man anymore. So thanks for doing this with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
So why don't you give us a better summary of yourself than I just did?
You're walking too fast, man. I'm a cyclist, not a walker.
Sorry. It's because this is at a slight pitch and I'm very fat, so it's like gravity.
Oh, gravity.
I'm fighting gravity to slow down.
Sure. I mean, a summary of myself. Jesus. How does one start? Well, you know, born like many of us, born and raised locally, Manchester boy. Say that I might sound proud of it, but you know, proud to.
We're all weirdly proud of it. We're a little proud of it.
I mean, there is something about it. I can't explain it, but I did listen to your recent Adam Sandler podcast about the what was it? The dichotomy of being proud and ashamed, proud and not proud of Mr. New Hampshire's achievements.
Yeah, no, he's a tricky one, that Adam Sandler. He doesn't know it, but we're in a deep-seated competition together.
I believe it. I could see that.
It's better that he doesn't know, because I don't want him to see me coming.
I mean, you keep uploading these things, he'll find out eventually.
Adam, come on the podcast.
Dude, oh, Jesus.
I want to challenge you in person.
So, yeah, I mean, like you said, childhood cancer survivor, had a bad bicycle accident a couple years ago, broke my neck. It totally changed the course of my life.
So you're a survivor, really? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, the cancer wasn't my fault, but I've done plenty of stupid things in my life that...
You may have sinned in such a way as to make it so that you deserved it, though.
Here's the thing. If that was the case, the things that have happened since then would have killed me, for sure. Like, I raced motorcycles for years and walked away from just about every accident I had doing that, and then started riding bicycles to get in shape for racing motorcycles, or to stay in shape for racing motorcycles, and fell in love with that, started racing bicycles, and then I broke my neck racing bicycles and injured
So you were fine racing motorcycles, but bicycles is too much for you.
Fine is a tough term, because I did crash quite a bit. I broke some bones, but I did well. I won a national championship doing that years back in...
What kind of motorcycles are we talking here?
So...
Keep in mind, I know nothing about motorcycles.
Sport bikes.
Okay.
Dragging your knee around a racetrack.
Okay. Yeah. So, you did that? I didn't even know that. I brought you here to talk about space photography, the deep space.
Yeah.
And you're fucking... Turns out you're even more interesting than I realized.
So the thing is, astronomy...
How does one even get into bike racing?
It's a funny
motorcycle
story.
racing.
So in high school, I was all about tuning up cars, and I wasn't good at it, but I had a Volkswagen Golf, a Volkswagen GTI that I did a bunch of work to really badly, and making that car supremely unreliable kind of forced me to learn how to work on cars. So I got into that, and a friend of mine convinced me to ride his motorcycle, and I realized, like, I'm wasting all of this time and money trying to make cars fast, and even the fastest tuner car that you could build, at least at the time, was like 1/10 as fast and fun as a motorcycle. So
you were like, I could do something way more dangerous than driving cars.
You know, maybe that was my mindset. I'm not sure.
I've been spending all this money trying to make these cars dangerous. I could have just bought a motorcycle. Inherently dangerous.
Yeah. So I started riding sport bikes on the road, and riding like a fucking teenager does.
Well, let's just call it like it is. A motorcyclist does. Most of the time you see people riding a motorcycle, they're driving like an asshole.
I try not to grossly generalize, but it's hard to disagree with that. But I realize, like, the first time I got into like triple digit speeds in second gear, I was like, this is going to kill me if I don't do it right. And someone convinced me to try riding track days, which you pay money, you go up, you have all your safety gear on, and you can ride around a track with instructors at speed, but it's geared towards street riders, not necessarily racers.
Hey, lady slippers.
Hey, fancy. Those are rare birds, aren't they?
Birds?
Rare birds? I don't know, everything's a bird.
Rare flower.
Rare flower.
They're endangered.
Rare bird
I believe they're
is a
protected.
colloquialism.
Believe they're protected.
They are. Don't eat them.
So anyways, carry on.
I don't know where I was.
You were saying that you were doing track days.
Oh yeah, track days. So I was riding track days, and I did probably 3 or 4 track days, and I was riding a bit more aggressively at a track day than was really, it was a little bit frowned upon to do some of the aggressive passing that I was. And one of the instructors was like, have you tried racing? And it always seemed like impossible to get into. So I hadn't. And he said, if you tried, you can pay a little bit of a fee and go to it's called Penguin Racing School. They run it up in Loudon.
Why Penguin?
I don't remember. So, off topic, my accident in 2015 where I broke my neck also gave me a traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
Which, my memory before 2015 is real fuzzy. And all my motorcycle racing happened before that. A lot of stuff happened before 2015.
I boxed between 13 and 26, so most of my memory within that time is very bad.
Yeah. So yeah, Penguin Racing School. I don't remember where the name comes from, but I signed up and got I bought a race prepped motorcycle, and that was it. I started racing, went down, raced a few different tracks along the East Coast, went down to the big race of champions, the national championship in Daytona, and won in 06. And then
so do you have, in car racing, you have a whole team behind you?
Yeah.
And sponsors and money and all this shit.
So
do you have that in motorcycle racing, that you're winning national championships?
So that is what you see in car racing, because you see the professionals on TV. There are amateur car racers that don't have that.
Right.
There are amateur motorcycle racers, even winning a national championship as an amateur. I am the crew.
Okay. So you were a national champion, but not like a professional national champion.
Right. So I wasn't racing.
Not like a professional circuit.
Right.
Is that correct, or is that wrong?
No, it's correct. You see, you have different series, different race series. So I race for the championship.
I'm not trying to belittle what you do. I'm just trying to understand.
I'm just, it's hard for me to articulate it in a, just condensed. So no, I wasn't a paid racer by any big team. I had some sponsors, typically the sponsors you get in amateur racing are contingency sponsors. So your tire sponsor will pay you a certain amount depending on how you place in the races.
Gotcha.
So the year I won the national, I won a ton of races. So I didn't have to buy tires. I didn't have to buy gas. I didn't have to, I kind of broke even.
Right.
Which is pretty rare for an amateur racer. And you know what? In my mind, I broke even. I don't think I really did if I do the math. I don't think I really did.
Yeah, emotionally, I broke even.
Yeah, exactly.
By the numbers, maybe it was a little skewed.
I certainly know that the next few seasons, when I bought a bigger, more powerful motorcycle and raced in a more difficult class, I certainly did not break even. That was eye-opening, to say the least. But yeah, so
what were you doing for work at the time?
So I was an automotive technician. I was a master technician at Manchester Subaru, working on cars. I did that from 2000 to 2015 when I broke my neck. So yeah, so that racing motorcycles kind of lost its luster to me and got a bit more frustrating than fun.
Because of the expense?
Because of the expense, and because at the higher levels, it's much more cutthroat. I know it sounds at the when I won the national, I was on a lightweight motorcycle, and that class was a lot more like, there was a lot more camaraderie with you and the people you were racing against. You would race against them during the day, and then in the evening at the track, you were camping out and drinking beers with them.
Right.
Whereas in the higher, more competitive classes with more money on the line, you weren't buddies.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably makes sense on all aspects. Once you start introducing, especially, I'm sure at that level, you're probably going for something like the equivalent of a pro card, or like you're looking to up.
You got it.
To boost up. So like you're really kind of actually in competition with these people, as opposed to just like fucking around with your buddies on the weekend.
Yeah. So I mean, that kind of shifted things a bit. So shifting towards bicycles was, in my mind, it was a natural progression. In some people's minds, maybe
I would say it's the opposite. And I think for the average lay person,
it's funny because a lot of pro motorcyclists are road cyclists to stay fit for motorcycling.
How fit do you need to stay for motorcycling?
It is like yoga at 150 miles an hour.
Okay.
It is way more demanding than any sort of motorsport I could think of, and more demanding than a lot of, it's definitely more demanding than like golf.
I guess it's probably uses a similar like muscle set as horse racing, except probably at a much faster and higher, much faster pace.
Yeah, it is like, it's seriously, I have, I know yoga too. So like yoga's tough.
Right.
And trying to hold certain positions on a motorcycle when you're rounding a corner at 120 miles an hour and you need to keep control of yourself and the bike, it's definitely demanding. And you will see like the races that we used to do were sprint races. So they were typically 8 laps and they would take maybe 12 to 15 minutes. But then they had endurance races, quote unquote endurance races, which I think were maybe 15 or 20 laps. And you could see like the lap times of even the fast guys would really drop off towards the end. It's like you're getting fatigued. And people would always say like, oh, it's just right. The motorcycle does all the work. Like, fuck you, man. The motorcycle drives you fast, but the motorcycle ain't turning itself.
Well, I would imagine you must also just get decision fatigue, because at 150 miles an hour, you must be just having to make constant decisions that are microseconds to make the decisions, and they could lead to disaster.
You're having to make decisions at a pace that the human brain was never meant to operate at. And like, it was very fatiguing, but very fun, like very freeing. Like the sense of flying was just like.
What is it that brought you and kept you at racing? Was it because like I know when I was a youth, I was very much into like adrenaline. Yeah. Just like feeling the rush of things. And I never harnessed it in any sort of healthy way. It was always the worst way possible. But is that sort of what it was for you? Was there something else that did it? Was it some people are into like the mechanic side, some people are into, like, what was it that kept you in racing? Racing,
like competition specific?
Yeah.
Even when I was younger, I was a fencer. And that...
At the Seacoast Fencing Club?
That's in Seacoast. I used to fence for them, yeah.
I went there twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I fenced with Concord Fencing Club first, and then Seacoast. I won the Northeast.
Boy, you were like...
National.
I feel like fencers are like fucking nerds. You know, athletic, like super athletic nerds.
As in like astrophotographers nerds?
Okay,
right,
good.
All right.
Fair point. Fair point.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, learning... And I did wrestling and boxing back when I was really young too. But competition was always something that, I don't know, I always felt the need to prove my worth against others, I guess, which is not healthy.
Well, what's interesting is everything you mentioned is all single person sports, not team sports.
No fucking team sports, man.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. There's something...
I think it might have something to do too. Like, I grew up with a single mom, and she had 6 kids. So like, maybe having like
you had a whole team at home you could have utilized.
That and like having to maybe compete for attention. I'm not sure. I don't know the I should go to therapy. You know, maybe this is therapy for me talking about it. But like, there's probably something deep down there that makes me need some sort of competition to prove my worth. I don't fucking know. But that's like, when I was racing, that was it. Like, I always wanted to be better than. And again, that's not healthy. It's not constantly comparing yourself to others, not healthy. And I've kind of gotten over that. Like, after my injury, my broken neck in 2015, like, that shifted my life completely, because suddenly I'm out of a job. I couldn't work on cars in a fucking neck brace for months.
Not at least not these days.
No, yeah, definitely not.
I used to work. I did auto body for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And I worked with a guy who had one hand.
Jesus.
And he would balance the bondo board like on his arm, and he would use the one hand to spread it. And then when he got it where he needed, he would throw the bondo board so that he could get down and spread and check it out. And stuff.
I mean, that's dedication to your craft. Man.
There was like a one-handed baseball player. Did you ever see that?
No. Well, maybe I did.
There was a pitcher who only had one hand.
Wasn't Van Halen's drummer one-handed as well?
He was one-armed, but I think that was after he was already a great drummer. This guy was born with one hand, and he would balance the glove like this, and then pitch, and then try and get the glove on his arm.
Hey, you know what? Fine. Sorry, I just had a broken neck.
Sorry.
Either way, so the injury prevented me from lifting heavy things out in front of me, which I still can't really do to this day, which is one of the reasons why I'm not working on cars anymore. So I shifted from working on cars. I collected disability insurance. If you don't have long-term disability insurance, fucking get it. It saved my damn life.
Is that like Aflac?
Yeah, it was through, I don't remember who our insurance was through.
Aflac, you owe me $50 for the plug.
But yeah, I mean, I collected that for a while I was trying to get back on my feet and figure out what the hell I was going to do with my life. I got introduced to yoga by a friend of mine, and I immediately, once I started practicing yoga, started to feel more range of motion in my neck. I was like, holy shit, there's something to this. I always thought yoga was like woo-woo, rubbing crystals together, bullshit.
Keep my opinions to myself for the moment.
What's that?
I said I'll keep my opinions to myself for the moment.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I've got my own opinions we can get into about yoga as well afterwards. But I started practicing it, and I was like, holy shit, like, there's something to this. And it, I'm not talking like spiritual stuff.
Yoga is undeniably like a physical sort of marvel.
We'll get into that in a minute.
It's all the other stuff that comes along with it that I always think is so weird.
Well, that's, the westernization of it, really. But that's neither here nor there for now.
Okay.
I was practicing, and a friend of mine was like, hey, you have a really good connection with your yoga practice. Have you considered teaching it? And I was like, oh, a light bulb went off. I was like, I need a fucking job. That sounds like a job that I could probably do. So I went to teacher training. I started teaching yoga. And one of my fellow teachers was like, I want to open up my own studio. Would you be my business partner? So back in 2013, maybe, I opened up Traveling Mat Yoga with my business partner. And we ran it for a while. No, it couldn't have been that early. Let
me stop you right there just for a quick second.
Yeah.
I noticed, so I don't want to psychoanalyze you, but I'm going to anyways.
Yeah.
You went from doing motorcycle racing, which is like super fast-paced, crazy,
You're not
crazy
alone.
shit.
Right.
And then you go to yoga, which is like the calmest fucking thing you can do.
Here's the thing, though. Yoga is, I used to say this when I was teaching it too, you make your practice what you want it to be. So like when I would practice yoga, it was fucking intense. Like we're talking like handstands and shit.
Right.
That stuff's hard, really hard and really intense. So like it requires a lot of intense focus and blocking out the outside world and kind of living in your own head when you're doing.
I do hear you.
Yeah.
But I would counter with when you're doing even the most intense extreme yoga, you're not going to crash into a wall at 150 miles an hour.
No, but you might,
you might crash into a wall at 3 or 4 miles an hour.
Crash into the floor and break your neck again.
Could that in doing yoga?
Yeah, people have injured themselves in stupid ways doing yoga.
That's
for sure.
severely though, huh?
Oh, maybe. I don't know about that severely.
I'm just saying, it seems like a very extreme jump to go from going, you know, super fast on a fucking, on a basically an explosion that's happening between your legs to, you know, doing breaths and handstands. And, you know what I mean?
Maybe that's what I needed at the time.
Maybe there was like some kind of humbling, or was it just like a different stage of your life?
For sure. I mean, it was also after I broke my neck and got a traumatic brain injury. So that instance itself, smashing into a tree on my bicycle, shifted things for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we did that for a while, and then COVID hit, of course, and COVID did numbers on.
Get anything good?
COVID really did numbers on anything that required in-person stuff. So we tried to do the virtual classes, and that just kind of fizzled. So closed the business, and that was sad. But
So you had to close your business due to COVID?
yeah, it was. There were some other extenuating circumstances with like leases and stuff like that, but it all kind of stems from COVID.
Yoga. COVID was crazy because I feel like I got this weird sort of perception of COVID because my life did not change at all with COVID. Like, I was doing auto body on big trucks. So big trucks are like essentially the most necessary piece of infrastructure on the planet in current America. And so like I was considered, you know, required, necessary or whatever. And then it seems like all the places I went were also necessary.
Yeah. Well,
so it's like
yoga studios aren't.
my life did not change at all, and so I feel a little bit guilty when hearing stories like
Survivor's
yours.
guilt.
You know what I mean? Where it's like my life really was like occasionally I got 2 weeks off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
like
mean,
paid.
It's not like, yeah, and that's the thing. Like if I'd have still been an automotive technician, I don't think my life would have changed much at all.
Yeah, that's true.
But you know. It was different.
The world works in mysterious ways.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that was, closed that down. And just right before we closed, also my old service manager from Subaru had reached out to me, and she said that they needed someone to submit all their warranty claims. So essentially be a warranty administrator for where she worked now, which is out in Exeter. And I was like, that's not something I've ever done. But I understood the Subaru warranty system. So she was like, we'll train you. I was like, well, it's got to be remote because that's the opposite side of the state from where I live. She's like, oh, we could probably make it work. So they did.
That's sick.
And so that's what I do now remotely. It's not a full-time position because there isn't that much warranty.
Subaru makes such great cars that you don't really need to warranty them.
I'm gonna not talk about the quality. Actually, no. I shouldn't say that because they really their cars are very reliable. All I see are the problems, and just like any automotive tech, if you work at a dealership, all you're gonna see are the problems.
Right.
But I will say Subaru is super generous with their warranty. Like, if you're worried about, you know, leasing a car or buying a car outright, and you're worried about repair costs, man, I've dealt with Honda, I've dealt with Volkswagen, I've dealt with Ford, I've dealt with all kinds of different manufacturers owning vehicles, not working for them. And Subaru has been by far the most generous with warranting things after the warranty expires, or just like having things go right through without an issue. They take care of their customers.
What I think is very interesting about Subaru as opposed to like Ford, for instance, is like I kind of lump, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I lump Subaru in more with like Ferrari, whereas like they weren't really designed to be commuter cars. They were designed to do like this kind of extreme stuff that they're mostly known for, but they needed to also make money, so they had to have a consumer division.
Well, I will say Subaru's big thing is the boxer engine, the horizontally opposed engine, and when you make a horizontally opposed when you make an inline four, you've got 4 cylinders in line, right? So you have this much length to put main bearings in on the crankshaft and stuff like that. With a horizontally opposed engine, things overlap, so you can really shrink that up and have the same amount of bearings in a much smaller space, which makes it more stout. It makes it a little bit weirder to fit it into places, but it makes it a bit more rigid and rugged, which I think goes along with their reliability a bit. You know, they've all got their CVT transmission issues and their, you know, consuming oil issues,
they were originally designed for doing sort of the things we like rally cars.
Oh yeah.
And like those kinds of things, correct? And then they developed the consumer branch after that.
So they got real famous for that, but I think early on, I don't think they were racing in the early days of Subaru, like in the 60s.
Because like
maybe
Ferrari, they were race cars.
Right.
Enzo Ferrari had no interest in his cars being used by fucking losers like you and me.
Right.
He fucking
we're not using them.
The only people he really wanted racing his cars were serious race car drivers.
Right.
He was forced to make money because Ferrari never made money. He was forced to develop a consumer side of things where he would make X number of cars so that he could race his cars.
Right,
But the
like homologation.
Making cars for the everyday person was not only was it never something he wanted to do, he despised the fact that he needed to.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
And
really.
so like I kind of feel like, I don't know if Subaru went that extreme, but that's sort of how I think about Subaru, is like they wanted to make these cars to do these sort of crazy races and this like endurance sort of stuff, and they were kind of forced. They were like, okay, so how can we make enough money to do that? Well, I guess we could just sell our cars to normal people too.
Sure. So they were,
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how I've always viewed them.
I like that. Whether or not it's true, I'm not sure either. I just worked on them. I'm not a Subaru historian for really, other than knowing the vehicles for the years that I worked on them, from 2000 till 2015, and then now, I kind of have to understand the inner workings of them a bit. Man, these are much less rare than I thought. So yeah, I mean that's what I do now, and the beauty of it is like I have made this system in our dealership where like the service advisors, whenever they have a warranty claim, they drop it into a Google Drive folder that I've made, so I get it on my phone, I get it on my computer, and I can go through and sort it out at home. So like if I were to get an email right now and say like, hey, we got this claim, I would have to, I don't know. I could put it off a little bit. Then
it gives you the ability to go on a hike at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday.
You had mentioned that in a podcast that you recently did too, like how like having your time, and that's something I learned when I broke my neck and got out of my 9-to-5 technician job, is that like being able to do what you want with your time is the most valuable thing in the world. With like all the money in the world is not worth your time. And you just handing, I don't know, I could rant about.
I do agree, but I also think that like, because I think that there's a balancing act there, and you hear a lot of people talk about like, the most important thing you can do is start a business and take back your time. I do think that like I think it's more, there is a subset of people who is so broken like myself that I could not physically, like it would be impossible for me to work a real job.
Right.
I could not work in a job where I had to show up at X time and leave at X time and like no matter how much work I got done,
beg permission,
doesn't matter,
to take time off.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just could not do that. There are some people who are great at that,
right?
Who love that and they're happy doing that. And so I think that the most important thing is like just
I feel like
finding where you're happy.
I feel like those are the broken people though. Those people that say like, I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I had free time. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Well, maybe, but maybe they're not, because they're also smarter, because like I don't have health insurance.
Yeah, but the thing is like, it's not that they're smarter, it's that you're a victim of the current system that we have built.
Well, maybe they are too though. Maybe, I mean, I just don't think, maybe neither of us is broken and there's just two different ways of living your life. You know what I mean? Well,
here's the thing. Before modern society and late stage capitalism and all that stuff, these people how would they have survived if they didn't have structure? We're not designed. I mean, I hate to use that word when talking about humanity. Is that a great blue heron or something?
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe.
It's big.
Possibly. It's coming over here. We're gonna, oh, maybe it is.
I don't know what that is. But either way, like for someone to say, like after I broke my neck, when I had all this, I was sitting on my couch for 8 hours a day for the first week or two, like what the hell am I going to do with myself? And then I realized like I could do whatever the fuck I want. Like I can learn how to play piano, which I did. I can, you know, I can do this, I can do that. Like I trained to race in an Ironman, which I did. Like all of these things that I never realized I wanted to do, suddenly I had the opportunity to do. And I think everyone deserves that. You have summer vacation when you're a kid and it's like the best time in the world. And then all of a sudden you're plunked into this 9-to-5 artificially lit office job or whatever. And now you wouldn't know what to do with free time? Like, come on.
Well, see, I think, so this is where I think the disconnect is. I do think that like, one, I think humans we are designed to work a certain way, or designed, quote unquote. I never really thought about it until you just said that. But like we are sort of biologically enabled, but like we're also biologically like enabled to bring order to chaos. Like we like systems, we like patterns, we like these things, and we like creating them. And so like
predictability is what we like.
I think what some people, like, if someone reached out to me today and was like, hey, Nick, I'll give you $120,000. You show up at this warehouse between this and this time, and you can make whatever videos you want for the rest of your life. I would fucking, but I will, you know what I mean? But you'll still be my boss. I would take that 100 out of 100 times. If someone called me today and made that offer, just something to keep in mind. You can make whatever you want. You show up at this fucking office, and we free reign to do whatever you want, but you just have to be here from this time to this time and make videos and like produce, 3 videos a week.
Yeah.
I'd do that for sure. Every time, because I like what I can't, but I can't find someone to do that. And so I had to figure out a way to make it, to do it myself, because I spent 20 years denying this impulse. Really what I like to do is make people laugh and entertain people.
It's a creative outlet.
When I was 18, this is not a slight against my parents. I think they made the right call. But I regret that I had a plan B. I regret that when I was 18 years old and I had no responsibilities and I needed no money, that I didn't say, I like acting, I like entertaining people, like maybe I should give this a go now.
Yeah.
Instead I waited 20 years.
Right.
For better or worse. There's certainly good and bad things that come along with that. But I do think that like if you know what you love to do,
dude,
you should just, if you know what you love to do, you should do that.
So I could jump off on that, and there's a parallel. I have an absolute parallel with that. Last year, I went back to college. So right out of high school, I was like, had no interest in education and getting any more education at all. I could see we're going downhill again.
For what?
You're pulling away from me.
Oh, sorry.
I had no interest in that, and I was, I understood working on cars, so like that's the trade I went into, and it worked well for a while, though I made good money, but I fucking hated it because I constantly felt like I was a tool in my boss's toolbox, and I wasn't working for myself. So like, I guess that's a little aside. I just didn't like the feeling of being exploited, which, a flat rate technician is always exploited.
Yes, they are. I mean, the system the flat rate technicians work in is absolutely insane.
Yep.
Body men, especially like right now, I can't speak to the mechanics side, but body men, you see a lot of signs out like $10,000 sign-on bonus, $20,000 sign-on bonus, which you'll get after 1 year of working there.
Right.
And then the boss then takes that as like their duty to break you.
Oh yeah.
Before you get to that point, guaranteed 150-hour work weeks and shit.
Yeah.
Like just insane. If for anyone who doesn't know how flat rate works, 150 hours is like, would be like, you should be able to do your time in half that. So it'd be like 75 hours, right? But like still, they make their best to make it so that you will never get that sign-on bonus because they will break you physically before you get there.
But regardless, so where the hell? Oh yeah. So in all this, like doing from way back when I was a kid, motorcycle racing, then bike racing, working on cars and all that stuff. I wanted something different. I wasn't happy being a technician. I was good at it. I made good money, but I didn't like it. Always wanted to go back to school. After I broke my neck, opened the yoga studio, closed the yoga studio. My current girlfriend was like, well, why don't you go back to school? Why don't you, go to college? I'm like, well, I didn't do that great in high school. She's like, you know your shit. I've been doing astronomy now by myself and studying it by myself for 15, 20 years. It's just been something I've been passionate about. So she actually did all the groundwork and digging to find out what I would need to get an astrophysics degree, an astronomy physics degree, which is essentially astrophysics.
Damn.
So I was like, fuck it, sign up. And since I'm working part-time and I don't really make a ton of money now, I qualify, and I'm a non-traditional student, I qualify for all kinds of grants and scholarships.
Does non-traditional mean you're old?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Oh, a little frog.
Oh, a little frog.
Oh, a bunch of little frogs.
Oh, a little frog. I don't think we can get through there. I mean, we probably can, but I don't even know what's over there.
I don't think
Looks
it's
like just a dirt bike trail.
Turn around.
We can turn back around. We're at 36 minutes.
Oh, dang. So, I signed up. I started going.
Thank you for getting to the correct side without me having to say anything.
I started going last fall, and I'm going for a mathematics degree first at Manchester Community College, which has been fucking fantastic. I actually just started my summer courses, which I kind of regret signing up for, but I want to get this shit knocked out. And then I'm going to transfer to UNH into their physics and astronomy program, which is what I've been passionate about since I was a child. So like it took me 42 fucking years to find out what I really should be doing is going to college and getting a degree. And this isn't like, I wasn't pushed into getting a degree. I was kind of the opposite. When I was out of high school, I was pushed into going into a trade. And I found out like, that ain't right for me. Like,
Did you realize that you were into physics and astrology, or were you just
astronomy?
Into it?
Do not call it astrology.
Okay.
This isn't your star sign.
Okay.
This is physics. Like this is
Okay.
science.
Well, whatever. I don't fucking know. Astrology, astronomy. It's all Greek to me.
Right.
Did you? I think that's funny because I think those words are Greek. That's why that was the joke I tried to make.
Astrology.
I don't know if they are though. Anyways.
I think it might be actually. Did I realize that?
Did you realize that you were into astronomy when you were young, or were you just into it and you didn't have a name for it? Like, were you like, I wish I could be an astronomer?
No. I loved the night sky and learning about the stars and learning about physics. Like when I was a kid, I was reading, out of curiosity, not out of like a deep understanding, but like Stephen Hawking's books, Brian Greene. I was reading things about like Einstein's theories and stuff like that. I didn't understand them, but I thought that they were fascinating, the pictures of space and all that stuff. And like,
Plus chicks were into it.
No.
You'd be like, yeah, no big deal. I'm just reading a little Stephen Hawk.
They're not, dude. They're not.
Shit.
No. I wasn't a jock.
It seems I have fundamentally misunderstood what chicks are into.
Maybe they are now, but they certainly weren't then. I mean, at least not in my eyes. And that's it is what it is. I liked it. So yeah, I was into it. I always had telescopes. I was always looking up at the sky. That was my thing. But it was like always in the background, kind of behind whatever
motorcycle,
whatever my latest obsession was, really.
Right.
And I think that's, I think so many people have very similar stories. Like they've got this, like a dim fire that burns inside them forever, but it's always kind of overshadowed by the latest and greatest thing that,
or even pressures from outside. Like you were saying, you were told you should jump in and get a trade. I was too, for better or worse.
Sure, yeah, there's no doubt. Like I have that, doing that for 15 years built skills that I carry with me that are some of the most valuable things I'll carry with me till the day I die, but I don't love it.
Right.
I don't think we should, force ourselves into doing something we hate just because it allows us to survive until the day we die. I think that ain't.
What I think is kind of cool that a lot of people don't appreciate now is that we're really like one of the first generations who gets to do this.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's like, it used to be at 42, like I remember people who were 42 when I was a kid, they were essentially dead.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
And this is not hyperbolic. Like, people used to age differently. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like us going for this walk right now, a 42-year-old used to like go to the coal mine for 12 hours and then they came home and they watched fucking, you know what I mean? Like even when we were kids, it was not the way it is today.
Right.
And so like the idea of
Home,
being
drank a beer,
42,
ate a steak, and beat their wife.
beat your wife,
Right.
and then hit the hay because you were exhausted from beating. She was so fucking tenacious. But now things are so different. Like I truly believe that at 42, 50 years ago, 42 years ago, someone being like, I'm gonna
Right.
become a fucking astrophysicist,
Right.
people would have been like, you know you're fucking not.
Right. No, you're not. Get back in,
Absolutely
get back in the mine.
Get back in the fucking mine.
Right.
Get back in that garage or whatever it is
Right.
that like
And
a
there-
light bulb
and-
factory.
And there are people out there nowadays who definitely cling to those sorts of morals and values that are like,
Well, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like we're the first generation that has like hobbies when we're this old.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
like,
it's hard. I mean, you had to be really wealthy to do it back in the day, which is why, like, as a cyclist, I see the people who also have that hobby at my age are typically pretty well off.
right.
I'm not, but it's still something I love.
Right.
Because bicycles, like road bikes, are fucking expensive. Like really fucking expensive. For one that you would take out, to a group ride or something like that. Like that's a completely other thing.
I was very lucky when I did street biking for a little bit. I can't
Yeah.
do it now because I can't afford it. But when I first did it, I was like 18, 19, and I went to Nalt's. And I
Okay.
was like looking at everything. I was like, all this stuff is too expensive.
Oh,
this is like,
motorcycles?
no, bicycles.
Okay. Oh
I
no,
was like,
cycle.
all this stuff is too expensive. It was like $1,000, $2,000 for a road bike.
Yeah.
I went to Walmart and bought one for $100 that did not work.
Yeah,
I couldn't even figure out how to shift it, which is because it has like the push.
Sure.
Looking back now, it had the fucking side shift or whatever, but I couldn't figure out how to shift it. I ended up bringing it back because I couldn't figure out how to make it work. So then I go to Nalt's and I was like, look, here's the deal. I'm fucking poor.
yeah.
Is there anything you guys have that is maybe like shit that you guys I can get for much cheaper? And they were like, well, we actually they had a bike that they had tried to sell 2 years ago and they
Yeah, yeah.
never were able to sell it.
Oh man.
It was like $1,500 new, because it was so old and it was like their floor model. They gave
Yeah.
it to me for like $700.
Oh damn.
And so like I was very great. It ended up getting stolen a few years later,
Naturally.
but it was still, that was like
Oh, we're going that.
a really great thing for them to do. So they didn't need to.
Yeah.
So I always think about that, like in my own business, like when I do things, I try to think in like that same sort of mindset.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're trying to help your community and,
For sure.
from their perspective, if I had really gotten into it, I would have then become a lifelong customer. Mm-hmm. I didn't because I'm broke, but
I feel you. So yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. Like, astronomy was a thing. Space, physics, science has always been something I've been passionate about. And this past, I've had telescopes for years. I've always had a collection of telescopes, and I'd bring them out and I'd use them. I'm a member of New Hampshire Astronomical Society, and we do some outreach, and I'll bring them out, and people look through them. It's kind of cool. But I started wanting to get into astrophotography because it's kind of the natural progression of astronomy. Really, you have your telescope, you want to look through it, but you also want to share the images that you're seeing. Like, a lot of people don't don't have the
Yeah,
opportunity.
or maybe you just want to look at it later.
You want to look at it later. And not just that, but like you can collect so much more light and reveal so much more detail than your eye can see with a camera. So like when I do astrophotography, my telescope is pointed at an object for 8 hours a night, and the shutter of the camera is open for 8 hours.
It is crazy the way, like, some of the photos you've gotten are fucking insane.
And these are like,
one of the questions I have about that is does your telescope compensate for the rotation of the Earth?
yeah, so it's on what they call an equatorial mount, which is aligned with the North Star. So like if I point it directly north, it points right at the North Star, and as the Earth rotates, the telescope mount also rotates to account for any to cancel out any star trails or field rotation of the image. So yeah, and it's in an observatory that I built in my backyard too,
Yeah.
which is the roof opens up, and that's skills that I built when I was a technician, being able to figure out how to put something together like that and act on it. But yeah, so I'll go out, open it up at night, hook up my computer. It's all computer controlled. It's controlled through open source software called Nina, and it's essentially just the astrophotography and imaging software that speaks to the mount. So the mount, it's aligned, like I said, with the North Pole. Like,
I come from pornography, and so the mount is a much different thing.
it is.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm not used to hearing that term like that.
I mean, this is a lot more metal involved and gears.
Well, it depends on the video. Depends on the movie.
That's true. I guess that's true. So yeah, I mean, so I have my telescope that's attached to the motorized control unit. I won't call it a mount.
Okay.
And there's a small telescope on top of the main telescope. The little telescope focuses on what's called a guide star, and there's a camera attached to that goes into the computer. And if the guide star moves in the image at all, any amount of pixels, the computer says, "Hey, we have to compensate for that." So it shifts. It'll send a tiny pulse to the motor that will move it like an imperceptible amount to the naked eye, but it makes a difference in astrophotography because it's just that, like, there's so much precision involved. It's kind of absurd, and that's one of the things I love about it too, because it also blends
Nerd shit.
nerd shit. Yeah, like there's the science.
All levels of nerd shit to be found in astrophysics.
There's a science to gathering the photons from these distant objects in deep space, and then there's the technical aspect of being able to build and tune your own mechanical.
You may be able to speak to this more so than I can.
Yeah.
But one of the things that immediately comes to mind is the fact that, like, I was lucky enough to be born in a time when cameras, really good cameras, are immediately can be found at my level, at the base level. It can't have been that long ago that what you're talking about just wasn't available to the consumer.
No. So even at
the highest levels, I would imagine those kinds of programs and stuff, maybe NASA had them.
Right. Oh, for sure,
like,
yeah.
Big colleges, but like for just the normal person to get access to something like that must have been.
Amateur astrophotography is still kind of in its infancy, for sure. Like, you look at the Hubble image and stuff like that, like, none of us have that sort of budget, but we can produce images that could challenge the detail that Hubble, or maybe not James Webb, but that Hubble could gather, because, we just have the technology and the time to gather all of this data. And the more time you spend focused on a target in the sky, the more detail,
You're essentially limited by the curvature of the Earth. Like the amount of time you have before the Earth gets in your way.
Yeah, but then
shooting it, right?
But then the next night you can point at that target again. So like, yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, like if I wanted to take the sun, like, for example, not that I'm going to point my telescope at the sun, but like, it comes up every day. you can point your telescope at it every day and collect more data on it.
Yeah.
And get more detail.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, the sun, I guess, is kind of a bad example because the sun, the surface is always changing, and deep sky objects like the Andromeda galaxy is pretty static.
We can wait till they come through.
Pretty static, so that's not really changing.
Or at least not to any point we're going to be able to see from this far away.
Yeah, we're talking millions and millions of years. Something might shift, but we're not going to see it. So like when that comes up, there are different seasons too. Like right now, Andromeda isn't ideal to shoot because it's lower on the horizon at night. So during the season that Andromeda is shootable, which is, winter season.
I don't know.
Mostly.
That sounds similar to astronomy. Now I feel like we're getting into astronomy or astrology.
Well, here's the thing.
The Andromeda season. That
you're
sounds...
right. Well, I mean, it kind of stems from that because that's when these things are up in the sky is always shifting.
So you guys might both say that Mercury is in retrograde, but only one of you is going to say that it's making you an asshole.
Right. Mercury being in retrograde is a scientific statement, but it's been co-opted by, this is going to go out public. I'm not going to talk shit about astrology.
Why? I was talking shit about yoga.
Yoga. I'll talk shit about yoga too. It's a fucking billion-dollar industry that's been co-opted by the
Well,
West.
I do think that yoga, and being a little bit more serious, it sounds like, because yoga sort of did have this mystical practice, but like astronomy, back when astronomy was first happening, had some level of mysticism around it too.
Sure, yeah, we didn't understand it. Every scientific fact was attributed to the gods back before we understood it. So like, yeah, Apollo riding across the sky, we now realize it's the sun.
Just a regular old sun.
Yeah, it's just a star 93 million miles away, fusing hydrogen into helium and producing a massive amount of energy and light.
I don't know a ton about astrophysics, but I do know. So I'm an atheist, have been for as long as I can remember. Never really was into the God thing.
Nah.
I've never, and I know it's a coincidence, but in my mind, the rarity of it is fucks with me so much that I can't help but think that like, this is the only evidence I've ever heard that there's some sort of design to what we're living in.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that like, if the moon was further, because like I saw the eclipse.
Sure. So
the most unbelievable thing I've ever fucking seen in my life.
It's like a hole in the sky.
It was literally it was life altering in a way I can't even put into words. I don't really, and this is from like a non-mystical point of view. I just can't wrap my mind around how amazing it was.
You and me both. I've had the same, it's the first solar eclipse I had ever seen, and it was absolutely life-changing.
So what blows my mind though is that I found out, because like I was thinking like that's just how eclipses look, but on other planets
on Earth.
they don't look like that. So it's unusual for a planet to only have one moon.
Yeah.
And it's unusual for that moon to be spaced in such a way as to create the corona effect.
Right, to take up the same angular size on the sky as the sun.
Right.
Right.
And so
it's rare.
It's so unbelievably rare though that I believe it's the only it's the only planet we've ever been to, but it's also using math. It's the only planet we've discovered that has that effect, which is crazy. So like, what are the odds of that happening, but then also being the only planet that
well, here's the thing.
That exists with people capable of appreciating that fact.
That's the thing. Like, here's the science behind it. This isn't a permanent situation. So like the moon is slowly moving away from the Earth. Right. So like we are in a perfect storm of time and space. It's not impossible. That's the thing. If you roll the dice enough times, it's going to happen. And it just so happens that it did.
Right, but it happened during also a time, like humans never saw a time, like it almost feels like it's somehow tied to our evolution.
Oh, maybe.
Because like, why is it that we're the only planet with sentient life, and we're also the only planet that we know of, as far as I know, that has this type of eclipse?
Well, I mean, now you're getting into like,
and so it feels like they're somehow connected, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Because it's like, why is it just because humans, by the time the moon has moved far enough away from the sun, from Earth, to stop causing that effect, the sun will have exploded and we'll all be
here's
dead.
the thing: we have eclipses where the moon doesn't cover the sun.
Oh, do we? I thought all
occasionally.
of
Not
well,
always.
I know we have like partial eclipses, but anytime the eclipse is fully in front of the sun, you have that lining up, right?
Not always.
No?
No, because the sun, if you have if you have an eclipse during a supermoon or something like that, the moon is going to completely cover the disk of the sun. But during the moon's orbit, sometimes it's a little bit further away from the Earth and it doesn't cover the sun, and you have a ring of the sun around the moon. So
I'm just saying, it doesn't make me believe in God, but it's an argument that it's the only argument I've ever heard where I'm like, that is so many rare things coalescing in one place.
The thing is, there are so many more things in science that you could say are, quote unquote, proof of God. Like the weight of an electron. If the weight of an electron wasn't exactly what it is, none of us would exist.
See, none of that fucks with me because something like that,
because it's not tangible.
Well, no, because when I'm like, okay, well, then we don't know how many times electrons have been created in the universe. You know what I mean? And also, like, everything formed around that. So, like, if the weight of an electron was bigger, life as we know it may not exist, but life in some way may exist. This is a bunch of really random things that don't seem connected.
But it all stems from the weight of an electron.
But could be connected, I guess is what I'm saying. Whereas, like, we are just happened, the only time sentient life. And I do not believe in God. I just want to make that very clear.
You keep saying that.
But I'm just saying,
like there's a correlation.
I'm just saying that there is some sort of, well, it does. It fucks up my brain. I feel like, you know how like you hear about cult leaders and they'll be like, or cult people and they'll be like, I heard that one thing and it really just stuck in my brain.
Right.
And like that was the thing that unraveled the whole sweater. This is like the opposite. I'm like, this is the one thing where I'm like, so humans are the only species that we know of in the entire universe that we've ever seen that has the ability to perceive and understand what it's seeing, right? Sure. And use tools to measure it. We're also happen to be on the only planet that we know of that has this sort of corona effect. It's just it's the weirdest coincidence.
I mean, it is, but that's all it is. It is a coincidence.
Sure, but I'm just saying it has to be the equivalent of winning the lottery like 7 million times in a row. Like, you know what I mean?
Possibly.
It has to be. There's like a statistic that like you being born is like the equivalent of winning the lottery, I think 400 times in a row. Like just like
all right.
The odds of you existing are the equivalent of that. Like this has to be rarer than that. Like infinitely rarer than that. You know what I mean?
Not infinite.
It's just crazy.
Finitely rare, but rarer.
Seemingly infinite to the human brain that can't even comprehend what a billion is.
Yeah. No,
you're
right. We can't. That's the thing. Like, we can't comprehend.
Like, I think it's easier.
Numbers like that.
I think it's easier to look at something like an atom and be like, it makes sense that everything sort of developed around that one thing, because like, if the weight was different, it may have developed just in a different way. But like this sort of system makes me feel like those two things are somehow tied together. Whether that is a god or it just makes me feel like evolution of the human. It sounds to me
like you're not atheist. It sounds to me like you're agnostic.
Like, I mean, I think all atheists and atheists and agnostics are all on the same planet. If fucking God showed up tomorrow, everybody would believe in him.
But they might not think he's a god. You know, that's the guy who.
Well, if you could prove that he was in undeniably God, then he would be God. Atheists and agnostics are the same thing, in my opinion. Because if you could prove it, then it would be proven. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I think...
But here's what I'm saying.
I mean...
Maybe it was aliens that did it. You know what I mean? I just feel as though our evolution was somehow tied after witnessing the eclipse. Never before, But after seeing the eclipse, I feel as though our evolution somehow had to be tied to the fact that those happen here.
All right. I mean, I wish I had the skills and articulation.
But do you at least see where my mind is?
I understand. Oh, I absolutely do. But I guess I don't know what makes me more apt to say, like, that's a pretty cool...
Like, if we ever find another planet where those two things are simultaneously happening...
Well, here's the thing. It's out there. It is out there somewhere. It's, you know, in an infinite universe, you roll the dice enough times.
Well, not infinite, though.
Really?
Is it?
I mean, it's
infinite as far as we can perceive, but is it actually infinite?
I mean... What is infinite?
Isn't
if it is expanding at the speed
well,
of light?
I think infinite is just this concept, isn't it?
If it's expanding at the speed of light in all directions, and everything we can conceive, nothing we can conceive can travel faster than the speed of light, then technically it would be infinite.
I do think that there is a time in our future, in humanity's future, where we're going to look back and say that we'll be like, can you believe they used to think the universe was infinite? I just feel as though we're accelerating in that direction where, like, the science is going to catch up. Like, I don't think we'll ever travel at the speed of light, but I think there has to be some sort of bounds to it.
You're getting into things that are far beyond far beyond where my degree is progressed.
Well, then you can imagine how confusing it is for me to be here.
I mean, that's a philosophical discussion, and I feel woefully unequipped to even maybe it's the
this is the kind of I think that this is one of those things where it's like I have so little understanding where, like, I can just come up with these scenarios in my head, you know what I mean?
I love it. I love that sort of thing. Like, I feel like I would love to have this conversation sitting in my observatory, like, at night
with a pipe.
I mean I've never smoked anything. Which is...
Me neither, but it would be cool just to hold. You know?
Yeah.
Like one of those Sherlock Holmes pipes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, not smoking weed. Smoking, like, a nice bit of a big Sherlock Holmes pipe and just having this discussion while we have a bust of Julius Caesar.
That's a great idea.
You know?
No trespassing.
That's a great idea. No trespassing is a great idea.
That's not.
Who are you to tell me what to do, sign?
Right? Private property is inherently theft.
Police take notice.
So yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. We look back and we're like, oh yeah, you know.
I'm sorry, I feel like you're dealing with such an idiot right now.
No.
That you're exacerbated to the point of being like, I just don't fucking know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like there are so many people out there that would try and come up with a bullshit answer, and I'm not that guy. Like, I honestly don't know. It'll make me. I'd like to explore these questions and possibilities.
Well, I have this podcast every week. You let me know when you're ready to come back.
It makes me really wonder, like, yeah, well, what could the explanation of a finite universe? How could you describe a finite universe? Like,
well, I just think. I mean, again, I think it's like that. Humans just can't conceive it. It's like they can't conceive. They have a difficult time processing things going 150 miles an hour.
Right.
We have a difficult time processing numbers over 10,000.
Sure.
You know, like most people have never really dealt with numbers that size, and then like you can kind of like learn to deal with like billions, but the number of people who can do that are a lot smaller. And then when you get to trillions, it's like there's like 7 people who can.
And even that, like, I don't think they can conceive of it or truly think about it in abstract. They can compute it, they can theorize, but I don't think.
Like, are there an infinite number of atoms in the universe, or are there a finite number? We just have no way to understand that number.
My understanding is there's a finite number of atoms in the universe because energy and matter aren't created or destroyed, but the universe is expanding. So the fabric of space-time Oh man, this is going out into the public. I don't want to sound like some authority on.
No,
on
I mean,
physics.
I feel like you've done a great job of saying like you're not an authority. I'm not going to clip this out or anything. I'm honest. I'm genuinely curious. I think other people are probably curious too. And you know,
It's not. I am not. Again, I'm not an authority on this. I've just read a bunch of different opinions on it, and like contrasting opinions as well. So not like everyone has, not everyone, but a lot of the authorities on this have different opinions about it. And my understanding is that the amount of energy that includes, electromagnetic radiation and matter is not changing, but the amount of space is changing. So the density of energy is
dissipating,
is reducing, but space itself is expanding. And you have someone argue like, oh, well, if space is expanding, why is Andromeda coming towards us?
Well, I
because
guess
we're gravitationally bound.
Yeah, see, that makes sense. But what would be confusing to me at that point is like, so you have the Big Bang,
Yep.
right? Let's just, some people don't believe in the Big Bang. Let's just start from a point we can both agree exists.
I mean,
is the Big Bang.
If space is expanding,
what was it expanding into?
Well, that's
sort of where I think the conversation
goes. What's north of the North Pole?
Right. Right.
What's north of the North Pole?
Nothing.
I mean,
I guess it depends how you signify north.
It's an irrational question.
Yeah.
So like, what's the universe expanding into? That's how I've always.
What if you hit the edge and it's just like pudding? And like this whole explosion has just been creating a bubble in pudding. The whole Big Bang is just just a bubble in pudding.
Like the multi bubble universe theory or something like that. Like they say, bubbles in bread or bubbles in pudding, like you say. Like maybe there are a bunch of different bubbles, and when the bubbles come into contact with each other, that's another Big Bang. Like that's.
Oh, I had never heard that.
You're not that far out of the realm of possibility. You might be a physicist.
Fuck. I need to get paid more.
You crazy? Physicists don't get paid.
Celebrity physicists do.
They're science communicators. They're not paid for doing physics. They're paid for communicating. Just like you.
Hopefully they're getting paid more than me. And they're probably dealing with things much more important than I am.
But that's another... Oh, man. The things we value in society.
It's crazy the way that again, we're the only species we know of that can even have these kinds of thoughts.
Right.
So like, even though we'll never know
these are the teenagers.
What the edge of the universe, no, I think those are the same people. We'll never know what the edge of the universe looks like because we can never get to it.
Right, because it's expanding.
It's expanding at the speed of light, and it's already got a pretty big head start.
Yeah. I mean, if the universe is 14.7 billion years old. Yeah, expanding in all directions. We're talking like 40.
I believe the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Oh, geez.
If I remember correctly.
Stop it. Please. Don't hit me with the young Earth?
Young Earth theory.
Get the fuck out of here. God planted dinosaur bones to test our faith.
One thing we can all agree on is that's crazy. So anyways, back to space photography.
Astrophotography.
Astrophotography. What
did you see my eclipse pictures? I posted some.
I did.
Some
pictures. Did you see mine? It was way less good.
It was great though.
I took mine with
I did see
with a pocket camera that had it has like a 53 times zoom on it, and I was able to get real close, and I taped the glasses.
Yeah. Oh,
the eclipse glasses over the edge, over the end of it, so that way I could get the picture without destroying my camera.
That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it worked good for my purposes. It was nothing like yours, which was unbelievable. What kind of ND filter did you have to use?
So I have, it was on my telescope.
For anyone who doesn't know, an ND filter blocks out light from your camera.
Filter. Yeah. So I actually, for the images with the sun, where the moon wasn't covering the sun, I just had a solar film filter, which is it's like a film that has the same darkening effect as welding glass, essentially. But then as soon as the moon completely covers the sun, you can pull that filter off and shoot without a filter, which is the beauty of eclipse photography, because then you can get the corona, you can get the the filaments and flares and whatnot. Prominences, that's the word I'm looking for.
So what was so where did you shoot that?
My girlfriend and I went up to Sherbrooke, Canada, because I did a ton of Google Maps digging and tried to find the shortest driving distance to a relatively high altitude place with nothing around it, with like clear views of the horizons. So I spent hours on Google Maps just looking for places that were like, had hotels relatively near. And I found this spot that's like all farmland on the top of a hill. And it was horizon to horizon clear. And I was like, book the hotel, like roll the dice. Let's hope it's not cloudy. And sure enough, like it was clear as could be. It was absolutely beautiful.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Went up to Maine.
Nice.
And we went to my friend's. I don't even remember what the name of the town was. It was just like a little town. There's like a Quaker community up there. So there was like a bunch of, I was like standing next to a bunch of Quakers. I was like, fuck, well, this is the apocalypse. At least I got these motherfuckers. I'm like, found the right people to be near. I found definitely the right people to be next to. So we went up there and it was pretty crazy. And a lot of people had like 15-hour drives. We were down and back in like, I think it took us 6 hours total round trip, but that was like including watching and everything. Yeah,
the drive up probably took us 3.5 hours or so. So it wasn't bad.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, I'm out west New Hampshire anyway, so like you can just head right up.
So you were like right over the Canadian. You were like
Sherbrooke, yeah.
You were like 50 feet over the border.
Yeah, it's not far over the border at all. But the drive back, holy shit.
Yeah.
It must have taken 10 hours.
Yeah.
And we knew what we were getting into, so I had like downloaded.
Well, that's because everybody else that was serious about it had done the same research as you.
Yeah. So I downloaded all the offline maps for Google. I was like, okay, we're back roading it the way home. And a lot of other people had that same idea, but like we didn't really get stuck in any bumper to bumper traffic, which was nice. So like it didn't feel as monotonous as I think a lot of other people had to deal with. But you know what? I would do it again because it
was 100% worth it. I'm thinking about going to Spain for the next one.
Same.
It's like, I really can't,
you can't put it into words.
Again, I'm not a religious person, and I know that it sounds like it, but I promise you that I am the farthest thing from a religious person you've ever fucking met. The thing is I've literally never experienced anything like that.
Well, someone, I don't remember who it was, put it really, really eloquently, and I've been alive now for 42 years, and in my life, I've looked at the sky a lot. And I have 42 years of experience of looking at the sky to draw on. So now, when I see the sky do something new, that's like cataclysmic.
Right.
That's absolutely something that you don't experience. You experience the sky doing something new, maybe in the first 3 or 4 years of your life. But once you're 40, it's like you've seen everything the sky is going to do, and then all of a sudden you see the sun turn into a black hole in the sky, and it's like, fuck.
Well, it's not just the sky though. The whole world changes. Like everything.
Like all the nighttime creatures are like, oh, it's time.
Oh fuck. Yeah, it was like a very confusing. There was like dogs howling.
Yeah.
There was like owls hooting and crickets.
Yeah.
It was not like normal twilight.
We had like a flock
it had like
of
a
ravens
weird
crows like start. It was like, oh,
yeah, we
boy.
had a bunch of birds doing weird shit.
Yeah.
We saw like it's not like normal twilight though. It was like red. Weirdly red. It really was like, and it was like, this is hell. It was like, this is the apocalypse. This is exactly what would happen during the apocalypse.
I'd absolutely go to see it again.
I would.
What I really enjoyed about it is like, since the sun is in a solar maximum right now and it's very active, you had all those prominences coming off the limbs of the sun. So I don't know if you noticed it, but I certainly did. It looked like the corona, you had the corona stretching out from the sun, but towards the center, you had these pink sparkles.
Yeah.
Like the flares coming off the body of the sun were just like,
I didn't get those in my photos, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that's something, man, just really something else.
Interesting. And like when you start thinking about, or one of the things that really like sort of put into perspective for me was on the picture I took, you can see a crater on the moon.
yeah.
Like you can see
Like
the
Bailey's.
outline of a crater. You can see that the moon is not a perfect sphere.
Right.
That there's a crater there. And I was like, that crater must be so fucking big for me to be able to see it from here.
From Earth.
It must be like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It must be bigger than our whole, Derry. You know, it must be fucking huge.
I mean, Derry is your frame of reference. For
Well, I'm just thinking like it must be bigger than Manchester, you know?
I just want you from now on, going forward in life, to use Derry.
I'm American. I had never used normal, anything but the metric system.
Right. Anything
I mean, it must have been
bigger
5
than
million bananas wide, you know? It must have been 732
probably
oil
like
drums.
6.5 Derrys.
Or 0.72 dairies,
Maybe.
if you're going the other direction.
Right.
Like, oh, Manchester, yes, that's about the size of 0.72 dairies. But not in population, it's about
Right.
1.2
Man.
population of dairy. Yeah, you really can use dairy to measure just about anything.
I mean, anything that has size
Or volume.
or volume or people
Or population.
or crime or
anything.
really
You can use it
anything.
to
That has 1,600 gallons of. I got nothing.
of dairy. I mean, that's a different calculation, but you can also use dairy to measure liquid, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
So, well,
Oh, we're coming up on the end.
we're
here.
just about at the end here.
Oh.
Did we talk about everything you wanted to talk about? Because there's another end of the trail we could go to.
I mean, it doesn't bother me. Like I said, I work remotely at my own pace. So, like, if you want to continue walking, I think you're probably on more of a schedule than I am.
I am not. I got to just pick up my son in a little. Oh, actually,
Yeah,
I am on a schedule.
told you. Nick, you should come out to the observatory sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Hang out under the stars and talk about telescopes and whatnot.
I'd love to. Thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you know what? My pleasure.
And I will talk to you soon. Where can people find you?
I mean, hey, watch Wheelhouse on Twitch or on YouTube. Or, oh yeah, I stream my indoor bike rides. Man, there's so much to talk about. I haven't streamed in a little while, but yeah, watch Wheelhouse on Instagram. You can see my astrophotography there, or pictures of pizzas that I make, or my cat. That's probably the best place.
Okay.
Instagram these days.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll talk to you later.
Sure.
Bye, guys. Thank you for watching. Mwah! Bye.
I love you.